We begin NFL Live with breaking news out of Minnesota, where the Vikings had fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah after 4 seasons. This firing coming just 7 months after signing a multi-year contract extension with the team. Our Adam Schefter posted more background on the firing on X. Throughout the season, there was talk about an underlying tension in the Vikings building in league circles. One league source said it had been ugly in Minnesota. Then today, the Vikings fired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Vikings owner and team president Mark Wilf spoke to the media moments ago.
This is a critical offseason. Ultimately, we felt the change was necessary in football operations and did not feel comfortable going forward into this offseason with the current leadership. It's not about any one decision or move. We looked at the situation cumulatively. We just didn't feel confident going through the entirety of the offseason, an additional draft, and free agency with this structure.
Okay, so much to get into on this Friday. Glad you're with us today. Mina, RC, Swagu here for the hour. Mina, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to this news?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Not surprised by the decision, but surprised by the timing. That's what's shocking here, right? Because Viking season ended weeks ago. They had their meetings back then, sent him to the Senior Bowl, apparently. The timing makes me think this is reactive to Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl. It's hard not to feel that way. Now, as far as whether that's fair, I don't think that's fair. I think it is fair, however, to criticize the draft classes, and those have been shared widely today. The Vikings have had a lot of misses in the draft, none greater, of course, than the pick of J.J. McCarthy, their quarterback. I know it's too soon to say that completely, but obviously the early results are not promising. There's nothing wrong than moving off of a veteran quarterback who struggled at the end of the season and drafting a rookie in the first round. It has worked for a lot of teams, but you have to hit on that rookie. And more so than hit on that rookie, guys, if they had even gotten average quarterback play out of their rookie, I frankly think that he would still have his job. But it was far from that, and that's how you end up in this position. You can't miss on the most important position in the game.
Absolutely. And now there's a history of these draft picks not landing or not being productive under Adofo-Mensah, but it's obviously pinpointed and centering around J.J. McCarthy. I do believe that it's partly because Sam Darnold was able to go off and have this fantasy season and lead a team to the Super Bowl, but it's the fact that J.J. McCarthy was in the building. J.J. McCarthy was there during training camp. You knew a little bit about who he was, and with having him in the building, you still made the evaluation that led to the decision of allowing Sam Darnold to be acquired by the Seattle Seahawks. And when you look at this team, you go from 14-3. You're a team that's in the playoffs, and then the next year you completely miss, and you missed because of not bad quarterback play, but at times terrible and inexcusable quarterback play, while your quarterback, or the quarterback of last year, is now starting in the Super Bowl for the Super Bowl favorite.
Ooh.
Yeah, MK and RC, y'all both alluded to it. And obviously seeing Sam Darnold now in the Super Bowl. But I think the point is that you just talked about. This was a 14-win team last year. I'm not sure if Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl adds more pressure than the fact that you saw this decline from 1 year. Now, the quarterback obviously is the common denominator in Sam Darnold, but the J.J. McCarthy part of it, you took a swing on a quarterback that you thought would be a good first rounder. And I know we've gotten to a point since we've been on this show for a lot of these rookies that have performed very well in their first year. But ultimately, this is always a situation where it's up for grabs if you really got the guy that you hope you got. But I think the most important point, the way I look at it in my estimation, is the fact that you were a 14-win team last year. You did get really good quarterback play out of Sam Darnold. You had an opportunity to go into the playoffs, and we know how that ended, but you made that decision based solely off 2 games at the end of the year as opposed to the complete body of work. And now we sit here with Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl. To go from a 14-win team to what we saw the Minnesota Vikings become this year, I think speaks more to why Kwesi is no longer there.
Yeah, go ahead, RC.
Yeah, Mina, I know you talk to a lot of these GMs and you deal in the analytics with a lot of these departments. How do you think they came to the decision in the offseason? Because you had already acquired acquired J.J. McCarthy. How much of a general manager and executives wanting to be right about drafting a guy leads to someone like Sam Darnold leaving the building?
You know, I think this is more about player evaluation than it is about any analytic strategy, because we all know having a rookie quarterback who's good on a rookie contract is a cheat code in the NFL. One of them is in the Super Bowl right now, and that's a large part of why the Patriots were able to load up in free agency at the position and spend or not that position, pardon me, elsewhere, and spend so much money. It doesn't take an analytics expert to want that to happen, and it's a big part of why so many quarterbacks were drafted in the first round that year, right? Including, of course, Atlanta and Denver, who made it into the playoffs as well. But this is not about analytics. This is about choosing and developing the quarterback. And that's where this went south. And as far as who chose him and the development, well, that's kind of the missing piece here, or at least there's going to be more information out of that. But, of course, Kwesi is the GM, so ultimately he does bear responsibility.
Go ahead, Swag.
Yeah, I think, man, I love that you asked that question, RC, because a big part of it is, too, did you get caught up in thinking that Sam Darnold had maximized everything that he could do and kind of fell into the idea of that this was a one-year wonder, right? Are you paying for that more than making a decision about taking a quarterback? And obviously it wasn't a one-year wonder, because Sam has performed well throughout the season for the Seattle Seahawks. That's why I say the amount of pressure that probably those last two games as an organization said, the question probably that they asked themselves is, can we win a Super Bowl? We see that we can have a really good season. We see that we can position ourselves for a really good playoff spot, but can we win a Super Bowl? And they made that bet on J.J. McCarthy, thinking that it was more about Sam Darnold's 2 games than the 14 the previous that they had seen, which is a slippery slope. And to your point, Mina, like, you could play the analytics. Go ahead, RC.
Yeah, but what we're seeing is that also leads to why Adolfo Mensa isn't there, because John Snyder built this infrastructure around Sam Darnold, and obviously he wasn't there last year, but you do have Cooper Kupp, and you have JSN, Kenneth Walker ascends, a line of scrimmage that you now control, and then on the defensive side of the ball, you continually give yourself chances to win. It's the general manager's job to hit in many positions in many ways and add depth, and that's where he failed just as much as this single decision probably was the nail in the coffin for the decision makers.
It's great context. I mean, you guys, if you think about this just purely from the financial standpoint that Mina's bringing up, you know, the quarterback on the rookie contract, there's not many guys that are looking at this from the business side, which is also the job of the GM, that would say, oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and spend all this money on a Sam Darnold who didn't do a great job in the postseason for them last year, small sample size. We're not making excuses for him, but you can see how they would have gotten to this point, and you can also see why this could be a knee-jerk reaction. Swag, you had a final word? Yeah.
Boogie, that's the point, right? Like, did you bet on the 2 bad games that Sam Darnold had, or did you not let the 14 wins in your season be the biggest part of your decision-making? Because I'm sure this team said, we still have the same head coach, we still have the same defensive coordinator. And remember last year, y'all, even with Sam Darnold playing that well, we talked about how good the Minnesota defense was with Brian Flores. This was a full fail, and I think it had more to do with the quarterback competence than it did with the roster.
Mina.
I think it's really just about the quarterback they chose. Guys, he just had to be average, and they would have kept, you know, this is an amazing defense. I really think that. And I would compare him actually not to John Schneider, but to Joe Shane in New York, who also let a quarterback walk out, overpaid a quarterback, walked out the door. The quarterback was better. Daniel Jones, who, of course, played in Minnesota as well. And has also struck out a lot in the draft. And their team has been significantly less successful. But Jackson Dart had a good rookie season, and thus he's still the GM of the New York Giants.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Ultimately, that's just what it comes down to. You just got to find these quarterbacks, and that's ultimately what saves or doesn't save jobs.
And Mina, you said this well earlier. I mean, it's still a little early to fully say J.J. McCarthy is not going to be a success in the NFL, but he had the lowest completion percentage in the NFL this season at 58%. So, like you said, not average at all. He was